Okay, Brian, we're good.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our December 1st North Middlesex Council meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. Anyone with disclosure of pecuniary interest, please forward it through to our clerk. Minutes from the previous meeting, November 17th. Is there any errors or omissions or business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, looking for a motion to accept the minutes. Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. At this time, we need to adjourn our meeting to proceed to public meeting, including Committee of Adjustment. Motion to go into Committee of Adjustment. Councillor Hemming, Councillor Moyer, all in favor? Carried. All right, our first item of business is set for 6 o'clock, and that's notice of public meeting to consider application ZBA-21-2021 located at 33054 Prance Road. And the owners are Daryl and Jennifer Timmermans. The agent is Paul Hendricks. So Stephanie, if you're ready.
Stephanie,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to share my screen with you. All right. So the purpose and effect of the application is to implement a condition of consent for application B14-2021, which conditionally severed a lot with an area of approximately 0.76 hectares or 1.87 acres in order to accommodate the disposal of a surplus property. The subject application proposes to rezone the Thames lot, which is the dwelling lot of consent B14-2021 from the general agricultural A1 zone to the agricultural small holding zone to recognize the residential use of the land and limit the range of permitted uses. And no zone change is being proposed for the lands to be severed, as they will be merged with 33166 Prance Road, which contains an existing residential dwelling. In reviewing the application, staff identified that the dwelling is located approximately 12.9 meters or 42 feet from the exterior side lot line, whereas the minimum exterior side lot line required is 15 meters or 49 feet. Staff recommends that a site-specific agricultural small holding AG1-32 zone to recognize the deficient exterior side yard setback be applied, and all other zoning requirements of the AG1 zone appear to be met, and as such, staff are in support of the proposed zone change. The application has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. Sabo Bayfield Conservation Authority does not oppose the approval of the requested zoning bylaw amendment as a condition of a previously approved consent application. North Middlesex Public Works Department has no comments. North Middlesex Chief Building Official has no comments. And at the time of writing the subject report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public. So it is recommended that the application be approved in principle, limited to first and second reading only of the implementing bylaw, and that the final reading be provided upon the completion of the registered plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. This time, looking for remarks from the applicant, and I think our deputy clerk has commented that.
Due to the technical issues that we're experiencing with our sound, Paul Hendricks confirmed by email that he was in agreement with the planner's evaluation report.
Thanks, Ashley. We have no written submission, I don't believe, on this report. Provision for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on this? Seeing no public, provision for the committee to ask questions. Any questions from the committee? Seeing no questions, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Counselor Moyer, seconded by Counselor Nickel. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we're a couple of minutes early, but I think we can proceed with the second one. All right, we have Committee of Adjustment at 6:10. Notice of public meeting to consider application B15 2021 located at 2039 Elliott Drive. Anita Willemsey is the owner and the agent is Rick Willemsey. If you'd like to come up. Okay, thank you. All right, Stephanie, go ahead.
Thank you. So the purpose and effect of the application for consent is to sever a surplus farm residence with a lot frontage of approximately 66 meters or 217 feet along Elliott Drive and an area of approximately 0.64 hectares or 1.6 acres from a parcel with a total area of approximately 56 hectares or 139 acres in size. The lands proposed to be severed contains a single detached dwelling, an accessory building, and are serviced by municipal water connection and a newly installed private septic system. The lands to be retained contains agricultural land and crop production, and 2 barns that are proposed to be removed by the applicant, as highlighted on the screen in front of you, and a drive shed that's proposed to be retained, again, as labeled on the screen in front of you. The lands are unserviced, they're used for agricultural purposes, and as part of the conditions of the consent application, an existing access for the farmland will need to either be verified or a new farm entrance will need to be established. The provincial policy statement, the county official plan, and the municipality's official plan generally permit lot creation in the agricultural areas to dispose of a dwelling surplus to a farming operation as a result of farm consolidation, subject to evaluation criteria. Staff are satisfied that farm consolidation will be achieved and that the residents may be deemed surplus to the needs of the farming operation, being Yellow Gold Farms, as a result of farm consolidation. The applicants have provided supplementary information that demonstrates ownership of a number of farm holdings containing at least 1 additional dwelling. And impact data indicates that the existing dwelling was constructed circa 1890. The North Middlesex official plan indicates that the severed lot should generally only be as large as necessary to accommodate on-site water and sanitary disposal facilities and should generally be a maximum of 1 hectare or 2.5 acres in size. Staff note that the area of the lands proposed to be severed remain consistent with the policy direction, and staff are of the opinion that the severed lot is an appropriate size for the dwelling and services. As a condition of the consent application, the lands to be severed will need to be rezoned to the agricultural small holding zone, and the remnant agricultural lands will need to be rezoned to a site-specific urban reserve exception zone to prohibit the construction of new dwellings on the subject land. Notice of the application has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. The North Middlesex Chief Building Official did note that a new sewage system was installed on this property earlier of this year, and the general vicinity is shown on the application. No objection was offered, but the following was recommended as conditions: that all the hydro services being currently all the hydro services currently servicing the retained farm property and buildings from the lands to be severed be removed, so that the services are contained to the severed lands. That all the livestock buildings be removed and the site cleared of remnant building materials and concrete foundations, and that an independent entrance to the retained farm land be obtained. Enbridge Gas did note that there are service lines running in the area which may or may not affect the proposed severance. Should the proposed severance impact these services, it may be necessary to relocate and terminate the existing line. The applicant should reach out to Enbridge Gas if that is the case. The Asabo Bayfields Conservation Authority does not notes that the requested severance serves to maintain the identified hazard land within the parcel to be retained. So no objections from the Asabo Bayfield. The North Middlesex Public Works Department did note that the current dwelling is connected to municipal water, and any additional connections would be subject to applicable fees. It is noted that there is currently an access that's being shared off Elliott Drive for the farmland and the dwelling. So as a condition, it is required that an additional access be established for the farmland. In regards to drainage, the subject lands are assessed to the O'Neill drain, so a drainage reassessment will be required. Hydro One has no comments or concerns. Bell Canada has no concerns. And at the time of writing the subject report, no written or comments have been received from the public at this time. So it is recommended that the application be granted, subject to the conditions before you. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. At this time, I would ask the applicant if you have remarks. Also, please, sir, if you can give your name for the records.
Rick Willemsey, 1932 Elliott Drive. So I have no problem with anything that she said. I'm a little bit confused on the relocation of the hydro. Is that what she's getting at, or?
So through the mayor to the applicant, generally all services, so whether it be hydro or your water or your septic, need to be wholly contained with the severed lands.
Okay, the hydro pole is within what I've asked for. The only thing that I am maybe just was wanting to ask is if it would be possible to increase the size of the severance to the full 1 hectare, if that's something that is possible at this point.
Yeah, because asking if it could be started walking the increase of the 1 hectare.
Have evaluated the proposal as submitted. If there's an alternative proposal, I would recommend that this application be deferred and applicant provide a subsequent application, as that's an additional whole acre, so that's fairly substantial difference than what we've been provided to date.
So I was under the impression that I would not be allowed to have the full 1 hectare, and that I would only be allowed to ask for whatever was required to have the house and any utilities connected with it. But it also does say that we can ask for up to 1 hectare. And so if it is possible to get the hectare, I would appreciate that. My daughter will be purchasing the lot, and if possible, I'd like to make it a little bit bigger so their kids can have somewhere bigger to play.
So if I can just ask you a question on that, please.
Sure.
If you're asking for that, the planner's saying that she's recommending that we would defer it tonight for you to go back to the planning to ask for a larger lot. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, if council would be okay with going for the whole hectare, then I would do that. If council is not okay with that and would not approve it, then I would simply just go with what we have today.
Okay.
Through your worship, there's a couple more moving parts than that, and that's really dependent on would the secondary building or the farm dwelling be located within that boundary?
How do you mean?
So you have to forgive me, I'm kind of managing the IT stuff all at the same time. So there's a barn located on site. That's where the other
Correct.
services are going. So would that barn be inclusive of that expansion of the area?
No, there's a bank barn and there's a smaller block barn, and they're both done. They're gonna come down.
Okay, so that's good, because that would be a
Yeah.
condition of demolition subject to the chief building official. So if you're
Right.
going through that anyways, what Stephanie is suggesting, or the planner, is that we would have to revise your application and bring it back. Stephanie, can I ask you, in terms of his request, would that be something that planning would be in favor of, or is that too early to say right now?
Through the mayor. Oh, my computer told me I was muted, so I panicked for a minute, but I think you can hear me still. So, staff are in a position to support the application as proposed today. Any additional land or proposal, we'd have to reevaluate. But I am of the opinion that the applicant has put forward an appropriate size for the application.
All right, I think that's pretty straightforward answer. Thank you, Stephanie. And we'll get the council or committee a chance to talk to you about it. First, there's no written submissions. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none. All right, committee questions. Councillor Hemming?
Yes, I'd like to, well, we'll hear from everybody else, but I'd like to see him to defer this such that he could come back with a new proposal asking for the full 1 hectare. That's
Okay.
Okay.
Other comments, questions? One comment I would make, I think in the Planning Act, you'd have to justify why. You know, like from Stephanie's standpoint, from the planning standpoint, I think for her to recommend it, I think you'd have to justify the reason for going bigger than that. That's just my own personal opinion. From talking with
It's
Stephanie.
just simply to make it large enough to enjoy.
Okay, no, I understand that. I'm just saying comments, other comments, questions? Councillor Moyer.
Just a comment, I guess, all we can do is either defer it or accept the application as is. We really can't
Correct.
comment on.
No,
on
we
something
can't
that
say
hasn't
yes
been
or
asked
no
for yet.
to a larger size right now because this is the application that's in front of us. Did you have something you want to add?
I did. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Stephanie, go ahead.
If I may, I would also have to review whether or not it would warrant another circulation, as it's, again, a significantly different size than what has been circulated. So it would warrant, in my opinion, another public meeting as well, another circulation of the notice. And as mentioned, I am of the opinion that this is the appropriate size for the lot.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I think, Rick, what I'm hearing from the planner is that she's has made her decision that this is an appropriate size for the application. You can certainly come back with another one, but it seems that it may be a lost cause to do so.
Okay, so that's fine. So then let's just proceed with the application as submitted. And then you guys could either say yes or no, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and you can always just make the land a little bit bigger for as long as you're there, right? That's up to you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. No harm in asking.
Okay.
No, understand. What is any more questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none, what's your wish?
I'll make a motion that's requested. The recommendation.
Approve the recommendation? Seconder, Councillor Keel, in favor? Carried. Thank you, Rick.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we do have Committee of Adjustment. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Committee of Adjustment 620. Notice of public meeting to consider application MV-06-21 located at 4572 West Corner Drive. Owners Jason Watson.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you. I'll share my screen again. All right, the purpose and effect of the application is to seek relief from section 7A.2J of the North Middlesex zoning bylaw in order to permit the construction of a 4,800 square foot accessory building with a height of 6.85 meters or 22.5 feet, whereas the maximum height permitted for an accessory building in the agricultural small holding AG1 zone is 5.5 meters or 18 feet. The subject lands are located on the north side of West Corner Drive, east of Drummond Road, and are 2.65 hectares or 6.55 acres in size. The lands contain a 260 square meter or 2,800 square foot single detached dwelling and a 46.8 square meter or 504 square foot shed. The lands are serviced by a municipal water connection and a private septic system, and the subject lands have an existing access off West Corner Drive. It should be noted that the aerial imagery on this map is outdated, and the barn located on the remnant agricultural land with the 4562 under it is no longer there. So that parcel is vacant of any structures, and this driveway has been relocated with the house. Staff have evaluated the application against the 4 tests of a minor variance and are of the opinion that it is considered to be minor in nature, it is an appropriate use of the land, and it is consistent with the official plan and North Middlesex zoning bylaw. Notice of the application has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. North Middlesex Public Works Department has no comments. North Middlesex Chief Building Official has no objections. Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority notes that the proposed location of the new barn does not encroach into the natural hazard or natural heritage features, and as such, ABCA does not oppose to the approval of the requested variance. And at the time of writing the subject report, staff did not receive any public comments. So it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. At this time, was applicant, anything you'd like to add, and please state your name for the record.
Jason Watson. I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. We have no written submissions. Is there public comment on this application? No public comment. Comments from the questions from the committee? No questions? You have a recommendation in front of you. Moved by Councillor Moyer, seconded by Councillor Theo. In favor? Carried. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So at this time, we need to adjourn the public meeting, including a Committee of Adjustment, and go back to our regular meeting. Moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Deputy Mayor Ellison. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. At this time with 6:30, we're just a couple of minutes early, but I think it's all right. Isn't it? Go ahead. All right. So at 6:30, we do have a delegation, and that is from Meter Corp. Incorporated, the meter update proposal presented by Mike Mark, and Jonathan Lampman is going to assist, I believe, as well. Good evening, sir. Just whenever you're ready.
Thank you. It's okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think everyone has the in front of them, the proposal or the
Should have
right, the
brought your
slideshow.
magnifying glasses.
Yeah, the paper copy is a little bit small. But
Oh, it's
I think
all-
we've all gone over it. They have it in front of them. So
Great.
go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and Councilors, for having me here today. My name is Michael Martin, and I'm the Vice President of Technology for Meter Core. And I'll just call this page changes. I'm on the second page now. Meter Core is a Canadian company. We operate coast to coast, and we're 25 years old. We've been delivering smart city systems, smart water, electricity, and gas all across Canada and every province. And we've had many projects here in Ontario. For example, tomorrow I'm over at County of Brant. We're just wrapping up that project now, which was about 8,000 meters. And we did Strathroy, just south of you here, last year, which is now concluded. And we did partial work there. There's different scopes of work for each project. And the city of Peterborough we've done as well, which was quite substantial. Our largest customer is in Calgary. We've been doing the city of Calgary for 25 years, probably about 500,000 meters. And so we're even replacing some of the original meters that we put in 25 years ago. We're a well-funded company. We're owned by Equicapita, a company out of Calgary, which is a $300 million venture capital company. And the managing director is actually from North Middlesex. So he has keen interest in this project from our company's point of view. And our company is providing, we're a system integrator is what we do. And so we provide products and services. And we have installation crews, trucks, vehicles to provide all the services required to do this sort of work. Next page, you'll see a map of your area. In this proposal, we've gone through 8 revisions of this proposal already. So this is version 8 to get where we are today, and it will be changing yet again as we proceed along this process. On this map, and if you're only seeing it in black and white, it's a little hard to make out, but the 3 main towns of North Middlesex, which would be Park Hill, Elsa Craig, and Nairn, are all going to be proposed as being covered. So we would put up antennas in each of these communities, and these antennas would be located upon buildings such as this one, right, that are owned by you, so there wouldn't be any cost for towers or other things. I drove through Elsa Craig today. The best building I saw there was the church, but if you want to reference the star I saw down the end of the street here is a perfect height of how high we would be putting this up. And this type of technology will allow us to communicate with the meters. I brought an example one with me. We can pass it around if you want to have a look at it. And these are meters, they're digital. There's no moving parts in them like the ones you currently have. And they are battery operated with a 20-year warranty on the battery. So we will replace the meter if the battery fails within the 20 years, and it's prorated published warranty. And these meters come with a radio inside them so they can communicate. This will allow the municipality to have visibility into every single meter that is installed on near real-time basis. So we can collect data. The data that we want to collect is not just reading consumption of water. We put ultrasonic technology in this meter, and we can detect leaks from something as small as a pinhole leak to something as large as a gushing water main leak. And the ultrasonic uses sound to do that. It listens, it's like the music of water, as we like to jokingly call it. And what happens then is that we can get ahead of, we can be proactive, we can detect the leaks in the residents' homes and in the water main side. So we can get ahead of these leaks before they actually become a problem. If they're a pinhole, yep. It's good question. Certainly it will cover the homes, all the residents. Down the water main, it depends on the pipe type. Acoustics have, if it's, it won't be plastic, like could be in the home, PEX pipe, but we can still work with that in a home. But on a water main, there's different materials used and the distances vary, but typically 0.5 kilometer. But if you have a whole bunch of meters all doing that kind of range and you can get a view, you already have a system on your main water main system today that allows you to have visibility on the flows, temperature and pressures, and that would work in concert. So it's all about collecting data and getting situational awareness of what's going on, where the problems are. With acoustics, we can pinpoint the leak to within a meter. It's very, very accurate technology. So if you go to the next slide, labeled number 4, you have in your municipality, you have 2,416 meters today, but half of them, about 1,200, are on rural situations farms. Farms are very problematic the way your system is currently architected today, and what needs to be addressed. But that is currently out of scope for this proposal. We're just dealing with the 3 towns that are listed, Park Hill, Elsa Craig, and Nairn. Your current meters are old. The physical body of those meters are very old, maybe 20 to 30 years old. They're mechanical and analog. But the registers, meaning the display that counts the dials, the old style dials, are newer, but they're on a body that is not sustainable. So you've got a pretty superior problem here, because they're end of life, basically. Even though you have newer registers, the wheels inside them are going to be a problem for you, and are already a problem. In most cities in Canada, I can give you an example. In Toronto, they lose about 1 million liters of water a day in leakage, okay, which is astronomical. Here in your municipality, I've heard numbers around 500,000 liters per annum, but it's very realistic that you would trend like the rest of Canada, which would be between 4 to 15% water loss. You're paying for that water, you're buying that water, you're having it cleansed, you're having it delivered, but you're not using it because it's being lost in the plumbing. And if it's in the customer's home, with the meter being the demarcation point, we can then tell the customer they've got a leak, and it's their responsibility to deal with it. So we have a clear line of demarcation. If it's on the water main side, then we can locate the leak and you can deal with it that way. So there's some substantial savings compared to what you're doing today in that regard. So again, my point is that your current model with non-revenue water, as we refer to it, is not sustainable over the longer term. And it's a very capital intensive business, water meters and all this technology. So we've come forward with a solution that we have been using on a smaller scale elsewhere in Canada. And I'll tell you, we've got 3 trailer parks of about between 300 and 400 homes in each park where we're doing this today. So this is not brand new. And in the United States, it's quite a bit more popular to do it this way as an OPEX model instead of a CAPEX model. Because we have the money available to us, we can bankroll it. If you know the economics of Canada today, there's a lot of cash available. So there's a lot of money sitting doing nothing. And it's right now is a great time to take advantage of that opportunity. So from our point of view, we were proposing to you to offer smart metering as a service. So we would own and take ownership and responsibility for all the meters that we install. And we can grow this out to include the rural in time as money or plans come together for that. It's just not financially viable at this time. And then we could build this out in 2022. It would be about a 4 or 5 months window to deploy those 3 towns, which is about 1,216 meters. And then we would charge you a monthly fee. Right now, you have an employee driving around in a truck 3 days a month, picking up reads in what we call drive-by read. That happens every month. Even in the worst weather, like snowstorm from yesterday, that might happen. So we're not going to have to do that. We can do that as a backup plan, but we have a wireless network that will connect these meters together so we can read them every single day whenever we want. And there's no real need to read them every day. We really just need to read them once a month. But we can get the leakage alarms. If there's a leak detected, those alarms can come back. Likewise, you can use the data. We'll give you full access to the platform. It'll be on the cloud, and you can go and access this data and have visibility to do analysis and understand where your water's going, how much you're paying to which, on which homes, right by the home, every home can be understood. Right now, you're on a graduated flat fee system. You're on trying to achieve a break even. We'll give you the data to be able to model this to precision and be able to put in a positive cash flow model for the smart metering. So you get a few advantages on this. The savings on your current OpEx are between 20 to 40% in manpower, labor, getting ahead of the leaks, lower costs. You don't have a gusher in the middle of a main street. You know, we can get ahead of that, and that'll save you substantially to be proactive on this technology. So this data could also be made available to the ratepayers. So we could give logins. We do this quite regularly on the electrical side, where each user could have their own profile set up and could log in and look at their own water consumption on any day they want to do that. So we've done these portals, as they're referred to. Quite commonly, you can do it if you have electric meters. I know you're on Hydro One here, and Hydro One does have some portal technology, but other cities like London, where I did that project as well, they have excellent portals. They even have handheld applications that can go on your smartphones. I live in Toronto, and I have that with Toronto Hydro as well. So you can get these types of interface to allow the ratepayers to see what's going on in their home. And if it's a large business or a gas station or a pharmacy, they're going to have different consumption profiles compared to a single person, retired person living in a home. The average Canadian uses about 350 liters of water per day, and mostly it's flushing toilets and dishwashing and laundry, more so than anything else like consumption. But in Canada, the numbers are very different. In Newfoundland, it's over 800 liters a day. In Quebec, it's over 1,200 liters a day. So conservation of water is very, very important. And they'll have that visibility, the feedback loop to let them control their own destiny and see what they're doing and understand why they're being billed for what they're using. So there's a good visibility there. I'll pass this meter around so maybe you can just see and feel what it's about. We also operate a call center, which is a minimum. We operate in French and English, but we're doing a project now where we have Cantonese and Mandarin as well in the call center, so we can get operators with different languages. The way the process would work is that we would send out a first contact is a letter on North Middlesex letterhead. We have automation systems to send these letters and do like 1,000 letters in an hour. So it's very high performance systems to do that. We have our own staff that are uniformed. Our trucks are all branded and labeled as Meter Corps. And in the cases of, say, Calgary, we put signs on the side of the truck to say, operating on behalf of the city of Calgary. So we're well branded. And after the letter goes out, which is basically the municipality informing the ratepayers that a meter change is coming, the second approach is a telephone call. So we use the call center to call the people and set appointments. We have a website today. We have videos that they can watch, YouTube videos, to see what this is all about. And it basically has been viewed about 50,000 times already to allow the ratepayers to understand. In different communities, we have to do different things. And here, I look at North Middlesex, I did an analysis of your population. And so I would, on a third call, I would do a telephone call as well. I think the human contact aspect is important when you have an older population base. And so we can adjust to that. We have people go out if there's a missed appointment, the ratepayer is not home. We have door hangers with your logo on it that can be put on the door to say, sorry, we missed you. We're going to be in your area. We can reschedule. We have a toll-free 800 number so they can interact with us. And we have very professional call center people that have been on the job for over 10 years. So they know how to deal with all of this. And as I mentioned, the meters we're providing have a unrestricted warranty for the first 10 years and a prorated warranty for the second 20 years for a total 20 years. So there would be, if there's any meter failure, we will replace the meter. It's our burden on the meter itself. What we're not covering though is the second installation fees. So if we had to do that, but there would be no equipment fees in the first 10 years. You'd be off the hook for all that. We'll take that responsibility. What's included, the way we've talked to North Middlesex, we understand that you want to do your own billing. And again, many of our customers do that. So what we would do is we would pull the data once a month on a predetermined date, say the 5th of the month as an example, or 1st of the month, whatever you tell us. And we would then cleanse the data. We have data analysts that will prepare the file and send you back a comma separated value file, a file that you can ingest into your billing system so you can run your billing as you normally do. We do billing for other customers like the trailer parks. We handle all that. But if you want to do your own billing, it's no problem for us. It's basically, we can shape this any way you want it. And on top of that, we have project managers that would oversee the process. We would do weekly reports during the build cycle, so everyone's aware of what's going on, good and bad. If we have problems, that's identified. We have software for the scheduling. The installers have a handheld Android phone. They take pictures of everything. They take pictures of the old meter, the register, so we know what the extraction was. We do lat-long GPS coordinates, which you are lacking some of that, but every meter we install will be geocoded onto a map so we can know where they are. We would also record the new meter, what the serial number is, everything attached to the residence. And then all that data is reconciled every single night. So all the photos are come in. We look at the photos every night on a quality control basis, and we'll have our lead hand here to spot check throughout the process as well. But again, it's not that many meters from our point of view. So it would only be maybe 3-4 months to install them all, as we've discussed. We follow all the COVID protocols. Many cities, Calgary as an example, Toronto, mandate COVID vaccines. We don't have a choice for that. If we want to work for those communities, we must do that. We have all the PPE, the masks, and we have process and procedures for the workers because they are entering ratepayers' homes, going into the basement. A normal swap out exchange takes only about 15 minutes. And we clean up after ourselves. So we have a process. All of this is reviewed and watched. I would also go and look to find a local plumbing company here to put on retainer, a local labor that we can pay to have people to do break fix. So if something happens that needs immediate attention, I would keep inventory in North Middlesex, and we could then respond very quickly. In some of our agreements, like Calgary, we have to respond within 3 hours. Okay, so, but we need professionals to do that. We'll train all those people that are local. We'll do the install, but then on the maintenance of it, we'll hire local people to take care of it. There's no need for us to sit a person here for 1,000, 1,200 meters. Doesn't make sense. What does make sense though is to hire local so they can get some revenue here. And we also have to do PCR testing on all our employees. I've had it done too many times, but it's required if you want to work in many cities in Canada. It's just the way the policies and bylaws are. From the pricing, we've given you a pricing model. This is just an indicative model. We still have a lot more work to do to come to, this is an informational presentation today. We have to make a lot more decisions. We have to do some engineering work to figure things out. We have to figure out exactly what you want and what you don't want, and then shape it to that. We're fully transparent. We'll expose every detail, and we're fair market value on every point. So what the meters are, what the labor costs, every dollar can be broken out in detail for you. In here, I'm just put it as a lump sum, but we're totally open to sharing all that, including the financing costs, which are, I believe in this model, we're set at 5.85%, but that would be reviewed as well as we move forward. Again, we would finance it for you over the 10-year term. So it's effectively like we're doing a bond. If you had to do a municipal bond, we're giving you the same. Not everybody, we couldn't do this for everybody because a big city like Toronto, is too expensive. It's beyond our reach. But here, this is very manageable. These meters that we're proposing are made in Georgia in the United States, so they qualify under the, I'll say NAFTA, but the new USMCA rules. So we can take advantage of no duty. They're designed in Denmark. They've been building these types of meters for 30 years, and they're used in the Nordics, which are similar climate to ours. So very reliable. They're probably the third largest maker of meters in the world. And so they're very proven, trusted. They've made tens of millions of meters, so they're well known. They make other meters. They make electric meters. They make thermal meters for different, like geothermal and such. So in summary, we would put up a fixed network. We would do the urban only, not the rural at this time, because of what we discussed. We're happy to do both, but the cost to re-engineer the rural is more than I think you're willing to bite off right now. But we can do it in time. We can do it over the 10 years. We can add more meters as they go, pay as you go. We have the backup where we can still do the drive-by if we needed to do that. And again, we would do that, not you, if we had to do that as a backup. But the primary means is this fixed network. Think of it like a cellular network that would be always on, always connected to all the meters, and would allow you to have this visibility into your system. And it would, again, I think, save you a lot of money and frustration and stress and take off the burden. What you would do as a municipality is you would manage us, we would manage the rest of it. So as we say in the industry, one throat to choke. But again, this indicative model, where we're at, we still have to do some more revisions. We fine tune this and get it to the point where it could be transacted. It's not there yet. We haven't even started on the terms and conditions, so we need to work on that. But we wanted to come here today and just throw this out and share some educational and answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, just before I go to the council, John, one of you have anything you want to add to this before I throw it out to council?
No, just a little bit further to reference. So we brought it in front of you so you would understand. So we wanted Mike and Meter Corps here to give the explanation, the background, ability to answer your questions. That way, when it comes through budget, then you know what's going on and you understand what it is. That way, it's not just a line item in the budget. You have to explain it at that point. That's the point of tonight, basically.
Okay, and yeah, as I mentioned this afternoon, I really like this approach. Bring it to council, let council hear about it before it goes to the budget committee to get an idea what's going on, right? So now I'll throw it open to council. Councilor McClinchy.
Okay, what would the cost be? Like, would the meters be charged to the municipality? In return, they would charge the consumer X amount of dollars to have the meter installed in their home, and the cost to have it installed as well.
Through the mayor to Councilor McClinchy, it would basically be absorbed by the water rate. So it would be go to the water rate, and then the water user would pay for it inadvertently through the rate.
But there's no charge.
It's not an individual charge to the homeowner for the installation.
And okay, what about the installation of that meter then? You take the old one out of the house, you put a new one in. As I recall, they charge every homeowner a fee to have it installed into your home.
Through the mayor, that could have been the last time. We've not done that, not in the 4 years that I've been here. There's not an individual charge to replace the meter. This would be absorbed through the rate as the whole.
So there's no fee charged to the homeowner when we put a meter in there.
Not a direct charge to the home.
Okay.
So in other words, is this supposed to improve and be more, comparative to what we should be using rather than what we have now? Like, like they're saying that some of them are old and they may not be giving you the right readings and things like that.
Yeah, that would be very true. With this type of technology, and we sell it too. So just not a competitive thing. We're meter agnostic. I don't really worry what meter. Calgary is all the same type of meter you have installed today. We're just installing brand new ones. Okay. But they are analog, they are mechanical, they have wear and tear, and they suffer from in errors on low water consumption. So if you had a single person living in a home, they will not read small amounts of water. If you fill a kettle, they might not even catch that. Okay. But if you're flushing a toilet, running a bath, running a shower, they're going to catch that fine. So that's one issue, is the low flow, we call it. The second aspect of it would be the reliability over time. If you've got a brand new one today, it's going to last you 10, 15 years without a problem. Okay. Once they get over about 15 years, they suffer from errors and non-reporting. So they might not even be giving you any reads whatsoever. And I would guess maybe 10% of your meters might be like that today. That's a guess. And of the rest of the population meters, the errors, if they're typical, they'll be about 20% will be under-reporting. So you're not getting true data, you're not getting proof. And that's what we're after. This type of meter uses ultrasonic. It's absolutely accurate to the size of, we say, a shot glass amount of water it can detect. And likewise, it can detect, it can last for years because there's no moving parts in it. There's nothing to wear out. It's all using sound waves to do all its measurements.
I had a follow-up.
Just another question. Because we're doing Park Hill, Alta Craig, and Kalau. And Nairn, sorry. Not Nairn, not Kalau. They're going to get, or the fourth part. Yes, I know. That I'm not debating. It's just that these are all people that live within the town. They're not using excessive amount of water. And I'm sure in all those places that there are a lot of people, that's one person in the house or two people in the house. Like I use 11 cubic meters. I live by myself. Like, really? What's the advantage of having a meter like that? And it's not, maybe wouldn't even show. Like, that's just a point I'm making.
Well, I'd question the accuracy of that. How do you know that? Because
I got my bill in.
yeah, but is the bill right? Because it's the meter right? So that's always the question. But so we've been doing some tests, just so you know. I donated 5 or 6 meters to you already that have been used to test. I donated a reading device to read those meters. And we also donated a larger size meter that was going into the lift station north of here. And the existing Neptune meter is going to remain in place. We wanted to do comparison to see the old versus the new. Are they both telling us the same thing? So I'm not quite sure where that's at, but we're doing a little science project to answer that question you have.
Okay,
well, will we ever find out how competitive this new meter will be before it goes in the budget?
Through the mayor, before it goes in the budget for 2022, it's not a long enough time to have a proven data set. I mean, it's a month, right? But to that point, I believe it was installed in the reservoir last week.
Yeah.
Or this week.
We can get you 1 month where, when you do science, you want to really have a sample rate that you can trust, that shows, because seasonality, right? Cold water, the water's denser in the cold climate times than the summer. You have to take into account several things, but we could certainly get you the first month comparison. If it's the same, then it's the same. We'll see what the truth is. If there's a big difference, that'll tell us.
Okay, one more comment. Because of the increase in the water, the residents in these areas are very sensitive right at this moment. And I keep hearing about it always, about the water rate. So that's just a comment that I'm making. It wouldn't take much to trigger them to hang us out to dry.
Well, we get that a lot. I've spent the last 10 years doing electric meters, and you probably know the original thought was that these smart meters were going to save money. That we never said that. We knew it became a mechanism for change, but there's nothing in this world that goes down. Everything goes up, I'm afraid, and that's economics. But right now, you don't have visibility into the water you're using. You don't have accuracy and awareness of what real is. And I think that we can give you that. Maybe not for the whole municipality because we wouldn't be doing the rural. There's 1,200 farms out there that still need to be addressed. So, you know, and there's bigger concerns there too. They need to be re-engineered, and they have wells, and wells can be very challenging because they can have backflow in there. There's other things that need to be considered. And then access, availability to access, and how do you read them? You have a very, very big municipality geographically. And I mean, I've done 165,000 meters in London, and it's about 1/3 the geography that you have for 2,400 meters, right? So how do you do this economically efficiently? And how do you know what's really going on? That's really important.
Okay, Councillor Keo and then Councillor Moyer.
Thank you, Mayor Rupp. Mike, I certainly enjoyed your presentation. Nothing like technology to bring us to the forefront and its accuracy. I guess I'll ask you this. To all the ratepayers that are listening to this online tonight or tomorrow, or in their leisure, what sales pitch would I use to ask if they are now paying a flat rate? Really, to them, they couldn't care less. They're being charged this much monthly. They fall below the threshold of the increase. To what benefit would it be to them? And I just, how would I sell that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not really selling it, if you know what I mean, but I don't want to pitch it or schmooze it in.
No, I understand, like you're selling the equipment, and I get that, but to the individual homeowner that's paying X numbers of dollars per month or per quarter rather, or billing cycle, to what benefit is it?
As your colleague just said, if she's using less water and paying the same rate as someone next door with a husband, wife, and 3 kids, is that fair?
So how many times?
I would say true.
But now we're ripping this scab off.
So through the mayor to Councillor Keel, the flat rate is completely driven by previous consumption. So be it whatever you move in the year is based off the 3-year consumption. So everything that we've done to date is still a consumption-based model. It's just a lagging consumption-based model. So it's a flat fee in order to shore up the revenue, but it's still based off of previous consumption. So accuracy and consumption over time is still going to benefit the resident at the end of the day. To that point, well, we will be coming back to council based off the flat rates, based off the communication with the public, and proposing a base charge and volume fee. We're actually working with Watson and Associates and going to sit down with them next week. And it will be coming back to council based off of what the public has said. So a base charge, yes, but more of a volume-based metering of our system proposed to you in 2022 budget.
I'll give you another one. How much is being lost in leakage?
I understand that, but that is between meters, not from meter internal in the house.
No, it could be between meter and in the house. We have leaks and unknown. We find that regularly.
And I think more people are aware of a running toilet than they are of a water line leaking down the road.
Agreed.
So
we've had
or a leaking tap or a shower or anything like that.
Google, and you don't need to go beyond Ontario, and you'll hear some horror stories. Richmond Hill, $3,000 bill for a leaking toilet of a senior citizen. There's an abundance of these press stories published. Hamilton, Toronto, lots and lots of them, where people got surprise bills. They didn't know they had a leaking toilet, or they went south for the winter and then came back and were shocked. But the whole idea is we don't know. We really don't know. We assume or we estimate what are you losing today in non-revenue water. And if we can manage that more precisely, then overall, we can run a better water system for your ratepayers. That's to their advantage for sure.
I understand that, but that meter is running from the water supplied to them and then internal in the house. The lost water, the lost revenue is before it comes to the meter.
Typically not.
Through your worship,
Through your worship, in fact, that loss, the 52% loss that we've been reporting the last couple of years, and I think was that 350,000 the last year or two, that has to be rolled into the rates. It is still rolled in and it is still paid and borne by the water system. It is, although it is an administrative cost, it has to be captured as a loss because that's the only thing that we can do right now. Our district metering is the consumption that we get from the Lake Huron primary line and then a calibration of reconciliation of our final meter reads of our entire users. The in-between is what we're trying to refine. And that's including part of the meters.
Through the mayor to Councilor Keough, you're correct.
Like
The non-revenue water, the majority of what we're experiencing is from the meter basically back to the meter that bills us from the city of London. Correct. Through that technology, Mike spoke to was the ultrasonic side of it. So not only will it detect obviously it's going to detect a leak on the private side after the meter because you're going to see your consumption, but it sends ultrasonic signal back through the system. And when we have 700-800 points in a close proximity, it will allow us to see leaks better and more accurately. Now, contingent on pipe, we do have a lot of plastic, a lot of schedule, Sched 160, but it does work backwards with the technology in that meter. To Mike's point, he's agnostic on meter. It doesn't need to be a camp struck meter. We're not at that point yet. We could go back to a positive displacement meter at time, but this is the technology, and this, knowing our water loss, knowing what's going on in our system, this is why camp struck was presented as part of this package. But you're correct, Councilor Keough.
The analog mechanics do not include this.
I understand that, but I guess the time I'm taking up tonight is nothing going to be compared to the time that ratepayers are going to take up of my time wondering where the hell's the benefit with this new meter when I'm paying a flat rate.
I get it. I live in Toronto, 1 million liters a day.
So
I think the key to what you're saying there, Councilor Keough, is if we're paying a flat rate.
exactly. And I just want to know what's the best sales point to use.
Well, you need to change the flat rate away. I think you need to get some experience in with a system of some kind. And you have to replace the meters you have now anyways. It's inevitably coming, okay?
And I get that. It's outdated. I understand that.
So you have to replace it with some meter, okay? Whether analog or digital, your call, right? But right now, what other benefits do you get? What other things can we deliver that are meaningful for the municipality? That's why we went this route. There are other cities in the United States I could have you talk to, other mayors, councilors that you can hear their stories of what's going on. And I'm just getting ready to do another city in California, 12,000 meters, and it's the same story. But in California, they're regulating water to a much higher degree and capping how much every citizen can have per day and charging outrageous overage fees. So they've set thresholds. So in different markets, there's different problems to be solved. Some have big leakage, some have regulatory constraints. It all depends on here. You have to replace your meters. So which way do you go? Do you do a lower cost analog meter? There's no doubt it's lower cost, but it's not that much lower cost. There's a small premium to get all these extra benefits. But I'm not pushing one way or another. If you want the same kind of meters Calgary is doing today, which are analog meters, we can do that too. So they're called Badger meters, a different brand. I suppose it all depends on what's important. I see other savings like worker safety, other benefits. So you don't have someone driving around 3 days a month, all sorts of weather trying to collect this data.
Sure.
And granted, to be clear, we're not doing the rural, so they're still going to have to drive around and do the rural, okay? But it would be less time than what they're doing today. And I think we can cost reduce this model as we move forward to bring in some benefits and like that, the idea of the portal where they can see their own consumption. Then it becomes real to them when they can see exactly how much my house is using. It makes it tangible.
But it also just becomes an argumentative point when people say, I used 100 liters a day versus the neighbor that uses 300 liters a day, and we're all being billed the same.
Yeah, that's, well.
That is ultimately is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I get that. It's gonna be great for some people, and it's gonna be not so great for other people, right?
Anyhow.
And that's another conversation that we're going to have is that flat rate compared to infrastructure and usage rate. We've been talking about that and that's coming to us. So that's all part of the same equation though, is how we're going to go forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Moyer and then Deputy Mayor Canals.
Thanks. I guess I had, two comments and then a question. You're looking at the leakage really just over the urban areas. So we're still
At the moment.
at the moment. So we'd still have our concerns in the rural areas. And I thought 7 years ago, I thought we started to replace, we had a water meter program where we're replacing. I know when Glenn was on, there was a lot that was done.
So through the mayor to council board, the meters basically, from what we can tell from the very limited data that we have on them, it looked like 2012, 13, and 14 was kind of when there was a meter switch, heads were replaced, bodies were replaced. That looks like the last meter. While Glenn was here, we were going after zeros. That was the main focus. So we had hundreds of meters that weren't reading and they were getting estimated, an estimate, an estimate, an estimate. So therefore we were going in and swapping those meters out for accuracy purpose. That was more that.
That's okay. All right. The other thing is we're looking at about $200,000 a year for this, the estimated cost for this, over 1,200 households. So roughly $165 per household per year. Could we have a staff report coming back on what kind of savings you think we'd have for that? You know, you mentioned we're not going to have a guy driving around. I know you'd have to estimate water leaks.
We could put rough figures at best. Short of pulling out a bunch of meters out of places and bench testing them to see what their accuracy is.
Yeah.
We won't know what the actual savings would be. We did try to bench test one, and the scenario that Mike was alluding to, in the scenario that we've seen consistently throughout the municipality, where we have the head that physically sends the signal that when we drive by it picks up, versus the body. And the body has a nutating disc, or a flutter box is what it's called. The body in the meter that we pulled was 1992. I actually sent the serial number to the manufacturer and we came back. The head was 2 years old. The head without that body is useless because the physical measurement is done in the body. We've ran into this at several occasions, which is what is driving a lot of this. And the fact that we don't have information to say what is out there, what was replaced and what it was. To be completely accurate with what the cost savings would be from this in regards to the accuracy of the meter, it would be tough to tell at this point until you actually run it and do it.
But you'd have some of your hard costs that you know of though.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there will be costs.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we could give you some benchmark reports of what other
Sure.
municipalities are doing.
That'd be
There are
interesting.
Published reports.
That would be interesting.
So,
Yes.
we get some of the US, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And, you could see what other experiences are, but it's been 20 to 40% reduction in cost, just as a rule of thumb. And I'll send an article that was published on Monday in the American Water and Wastewater Association, which is the de facto standard body.
Yeah.
And it was published on Monday, and it's a very elaborate study by Schneider, which is one of the bigger water municipal water companies. And it's a fascinating report, but it gives a lot of data, a lot of facts and figures. I'll send it to Jonathan.
Okay,
for
great.
distribution.
Thank you.
All right, Deputy Mayor Canals.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I'm going to be a little bit more specific than Councillor Moyer in terms of the cost. You alluded earlier that the cost would be absorbed by the water systems per se. So does that mean to say specifically that water billing will not increase to any resident whatsoever when we implement this program?
So through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cornelius, we've not yet fully evaluated the budget. Staff has fully evaluated the budget and staff have found savings in the budget in order to create space to put a program like this in place, which is a secondary or tertiary, not tertiary, but secondary approach to our water loss and our water loss issues. You will have the opportunity to review it and the impacts of the expense versus what the expenses were this year. Absolutely, we'll be able to see it with the line item included when it comes to budget.
Okay, so then in short and in brief then, when it's presented for approval, we will know whether or not residents' bills will increase based on this program.
Absolutely. It'll be in the budget. It'll be for your review.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My other question for you is that, and I'm a little bit confused because I know that with the last little while, we've been talking about meter pits. What's up with that?
Meter pits is an entirely separate program. So meter pits has a rural focus in that bringing the meter out of chicken, pig, cattle barns and bringing it to the roam. The demarcation that Mike was speaking about, a clear severance between public and private ownership. Furthermore, the meter pit program enables safety, backflow prevention, wells, cross connections in our barns. We put a small, simple, but effective check valve out at the road. So we don't have to go into people's farms. The proposal, as you will see when the budget comes, we're proposing the same amount of meter pits, the same cost again, but that is strictly rural.
But what's the benefit of that if long-term, and what I'm hearing from the presentation is that rural is coming in down the road for the same program. So what's the benefit of proceeding with the meter pits?
So in order to replace a meter and to go into a pig and chicken mainly barns, there's a very small window in which we can get into a barn when the animals are out, basically. And then you have to wait months before you can get back in. By bringing the meter pit out to the road, we could basically drive by, install a meter, have somebody down for 10 to 15 minutes, if it takes that, and then leave. And it would be they wouldn't even know that we were there. And it also makes it easier on the reading side. So frequencies and the way these meters are read, you put them in a steel building with concrete and so on, it makes it very hard to read. We run into this on regular occasions. When the corn's higher, it's harder for us to read. When we bring that out, it makes it simple. In addition to just the safety and then the accuracy and the water loss side. It's a very different it's a different program than this.
The length of the lanes as well, distance, the physical distance will have it right at the end of the road, right by the road. So the distance has no bearing. Right now, they're inside metal buildings and you can't read them half the time, where the driver has to drive up halfway up the lane to get a ping and then get the read and then back out of the driveway. So.
Okay. Yeah, and the other comment I have to make, Mike, for you, and you referred to Councillor Moyer there about comparisons with other municipalities, but at the same time, we're a unique municipality. There's not many municipalities that have the extent of a system that we have with the number of users that we have. So it'll be interesting to see how you bring that that comparison forward.
What I love about what you have is your district metering system. I got a peek at it. I didn't get to touch it or anything. I just had it shown to me. And it's extraordinary for a municipality of your size to have this, but it's absolutely essential. And what I see is taking your district metering system that you have already and correlating the data with these meters. And all of a sudden you're starting to tell a story. You're painting a picture of your whole ecosystem end to end, from the lift stations through to the water mains through right to the endpoints, as we call them, residents or commercial and industrial. And that existing infrastructure that you have now, I think is quite extraordinary. There are cities in Canada that don't have that.
Right.
We're getting ready to do Abbotsford right now, which, as you know, is underwater. And I'm going out there in January. It's a mess out there, but they're 28,000 meters. They don't have what you have. Once the water's going to go subside in Abbotsford, we're going to be installing all meters at every one of those homes there. And the same architecture, by the way, as what we're talking about here, a wireless fixed network. I have a call tomorrow afternoon with them to figure out the modems for the backhaul because they have some older infrastructure I have to retrofit. So, there's other people trying to do the same thing. Abbotsford's problem today is beyond comprehension. It's catastrophic.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get to the same place we're talking about for you as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Jonathan.
Through your worship, just so that we have a full transparent conversation, in terms of, I think what you may have been getting at, Deputy Mayor, was that is the user going to see an increase in the costs associated with this program in 2022? And from John Lampman, we're trying to refine that through the budget process. Will they see an increase on their water bill if we revert back to a consumption rate or keep the flat rate? Those will probably happen because what we're doing is we're dialing in our accuracy. The issue that our current meters have is that the lack of accuracy actually favors the resident. So they're still consuming that same amount of water, but because of the inferior infrastructure we have in place, and by swapping into new infrastructure, our accuracy will become more prevalent to the end user. So they may see an increase that. They also may see a decrease depending on how the assumption was moving ahead. The second thing that I'd like to complement the conversation in terms of, you kind of hit the nail on the head, was the length of the lead going into the barn or to a farm dwelling can be quite substantial. Typically, ownership of water main is defined by the user upon the point of the shutoff valve in. If we don't have a meter at the district metering area in a way, or at the meter pit, there could be a leak between the shutoff valve and the meter itself, where we assume that loss, not the user, although it is their infrastructure. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay, and just to reply to that, and then I'll end my discussion here. But further to Councilor McClinchy's point was that with the flat rates that we have now, okay, Councilor McClinchy and others like her, okay, are paying substantially more based on the flat rate. So if you're going to put in this meter, with this new meter system, and this accurately reflects the amount of water she's using, in my eyes, that means that her bill should actually decrease.
So in a way, depending on the structure, and when we get to that proposal from Watson, these people will see probably a reduction where a single family household will go up. When we went through the flat rate and establishing the flat rate, we saw a lot of people come out on fixed income, and we saw a lot of the people who had low income who had issues and concerns with this. What we will now pivot to, if we go back to a consumption rate, will be a single family household that goes above a standard set of consumption. So we're bearing ourselves into a situation where there are going to be other people coming through that are paying more that they haven't had to pay more before, although they are paying more now.
Okay, thank you.
But basically, what you're saying is with the user system, the person who uses less is going to pay less. The person who uses more is going to pay more. Right now with the flat rate, that's where, so that's another discussion, and everybody's talked about that. So that's another discussion for our water rates about, going away from the flat rate. So is more questions, comments from council? No? I am curious how many leaks we can detect in our urban areas, because let's face it, we're losing a lot of water, and we'll say Elsa Craig, there's a lot of water leaks. I mean, if we find the system can work good, if it honestly can find those water leaks, if that's a reality. I was looking at the fact that you said about people can log into it. So, okay, so if I'm saying I'm not using that much water, I can log in with, I assume, my phone.
Yes.
Right? Now, you had said about Hydro One, so Park Hill is in Tigris. Now, is that going to make a difference, or that'll still work?
No.
Okay, because Strathroy is in Tigris, so you're doing it in Strathroy. So I can actually check on my phone, on an app on my phone, to check my water and how much I'm using.
Yep.
So if I want to fill my pool, I can check to see how many liters I put in my pool, all that type of stuff. Okay, I'm just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and you can see by time of day, day of week, a whole bunch of different parameters. You can see trending, how much you used last month versus this month, year to date, all kinds of variables are normally standard features in that type. So the user can get an idea of what is going on and why. Like when we do it in electricity, in Canada, in Ontario, we refer to it as summer peaking versus winter peaking. Okay, so we peak in Ontario with electricity consumption in the summer months for air conditioning. Okay, we have higher bills in the summer. If you don't use air conditioning, then it'd be winter peaking. In Quebec, they peak in the winter because they're mostly baseboard electrical heating, right? So you see this type of peaking, and we start to model that, and they can see what's going on. But I'd like to throw out an offer. I love science. I'm a science guy, and I'll get a meter for your house, and I'll install it. I love to see what you're really using. But if you want, Jonathan just said, I don't have anyone. I have a meter in my garage right now. I have a whole box of them, but I could get one. But Jonathan said, I don't have anyone to install. I'll pay for the install. So if you want to do it, and then we can use you as a test site, then let's see what it looks like and what the reality is. We've already given you a half dozen meters that are being tested today. So one more is not going to change anything.
So I'm going to make, we do have to do something with our meters. You talked about the tops were changed, the bottoms were left in there, the bases. That's how, I know that's how it was installed at my house. I know 3 or 4 more, like right around me, installed the same way. It's the old bases to them.
Yeah.
So we do have to do something. So I'm intrigued by this, and I think it's a great conversation so what I'm wondering is, can we have a comparator, somebody who's using it at Strathroy right next? And if we can get some information from Strathroy, some of their thoughts on it as well, I think that's.
They're using the analog meters, just so we're clear on that.
Okay.
I just have a
Councilor
question.
McClinchy, yes.
If we go for this program and you replace the old meters, what happens to the old meters and who gets the revenue for all the brass and copper and
We
stuff?
recycle the old meters.
You recycle?
Yeah. No, by recycling means reclaiming as well.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say
so
this does copper and
No,
brass.
because there's a lot to this. The old registers, a lot of them have hazardous luminance chemicals on them. They have to be dealt with properly. So we've recycled 500,000 meters in Calgary, depending on the meter body. Okay, they're not all brass. If they are, that's good. So we have different programs where we have programs where we split the recycling costs and then split whatever recovery is there. If they're cast metal, there's virtually no money to be had. It's a straight recycling cost. I've already planned for the recycling of the 1,216 meters in the proposal. I'm very conscientious of the environment, so we always recycle.
All right, thank you. Is there any more questions from council? One thing, this is an information night, and I really appreciate your time and your presentation. I think it gave us something to think about. We'll be talking about it at budget, and we'll be getting some more information from staff in the meantime, so we know going forward. But thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Sorry, I overstepped my time on this.
Pardon me?
So this is just to accept the information.
Yeah, okay. So, so we'll take this information tonight, and then we'll use it in consideration of the program through the budget committee and through the budget process.
Yeah, one last comment.
Yes, sir.
I'll send the full PDF for all of you to get because there are 47 slides in the deck. I only showed you the first 10, but there's a lot more information for you in the rest of the deck. So I know we have it here already, but if we get you the whole deck in a large readable size, I think there's a lot more information. You'll appreciate my numbers on the deck, so you can call if you have a question.
And we'll have a little more time to look at it, than just like from the agenda.
We can funnel through, Jonathan, whatever.
Sounds good. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much, sir.
So do you think council will want to pass that recommendation just to accept that information?
Do we need it as a recommendation? Do we need a motion on it?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so, all right, so we have a recommended motion here for council to consider. That council receive the presentation for information only at this time, where consideration of the program will be deliberated upon through the budget for 2022. Moved by Councillor Nickel. Yes.
So that budget committee reviews it versus a council.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Budget committee just makes a recommendation, right? A seconder, Councillor Hemming, in favor. Carried. Okay. Department reports. Report from Communications Coordinator entitled Communications Analytics and Objectives.
Through your worship, members of council, I would first like to thank Amber for putting this together. She's been working remotely for us on a part-time basis to consolidate our communication efforts. And the recommendation before you that council receive and file the communication analytics and objectives reports as information. As a couple items that I'd like to discuss, effective as of June and July of this year, our new website became live. So that's this baseline trend that we have to date.
As you can see through some of the information, and I'm not a tech guru, but I can certainly try to talk my way through some of this information provided. You can see in that time frame that we've had just under 8,000 hits on our website. And then you can see the breakdown in terms of how these people search through our website and gathering said information. Of interesting note, you can see that the total time spent on a page is about 1.5 minutes, and that usually people circle around 3 pages to our website, and they're predominantly focused on contact and services related within. Otherwise, you have a breakdown of some of the activities related to how they engage the website. And if we move forward for each of our social media communication platforms, we have the number of followers and some of the corresponding information, likes and posts as such. That being said, are there any questions as it relates to the report presented to you? And I would also be interested in knowing if there's a certain communication gap that you'd like the municipality to focus on, if this is a status quo, or if we should be stepping back a little bit.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
When you mention communication gap, I think, because I do follow North Middlesex, I think it's on my Facebook page. I was specifically looking for the community consultation for the Rural Education Task Force. I didn't see it. I may have missed it, but I didn't see it. And I know that when I was at the arena, I was looking forward to seeing some form of mention there. And I did see a page this size, the bulletin board, which I thought, we got all these electronic signs, and we got bigger pieces of paper than that. And the reason to bring it up was because the attendance was not overwhelming. So I think some in areas of communication, there's room for improvement.
Okay, I'll certainly receive that information. I did ask for it.
Okay, other questions?
Maybe this is irrelevant, but I have had people, a lot of people and newcomers do not know that there is a YMCA here. They have no idea. Is that somewhere in on our webpage where it promotes the YMCA, especially the newcomers that's coming to town?
We have a dedicated page on our website that's for new residents. And there's sprinkles of the YMCA throughout our social media, and there's links between special interest activities. So I would encourage them to go on our website. We've also been discussing a possible package for individuals, like being hard copy, but there's an incurred cost to that. So we are looking to how do we get to new people, and communication in the municipal context. This is something that I don't want to say pay catch up to, but you're always trying to beat the next trend, especially at our scale and size, because everybody in between London, Strathroy, Middlesex Center, and us all have similar platforms. So it's trying to figure out the scale of our communication. And the other flip of the coin on that one is once you do communication in said platform, the anticipation is that it would always be available because people are familiar with how to access that information. So there's a lot of balls in the air, I guess I could say.
Being a member of the YMCA, there's a lot of people come from Port Franks, Grand Bend area, Forest area that comes to Park Hill. And I have a feeling like a lot of people do not know from out of the area that we have a YMCA.
I honestly don't know how we would get to those people unless they came to us and looked specifically on our social medias to get to that. I think this needs to be considered in partnership with the YMCA. They have a much broader reach and brand recognition than we do. So maybe that's a better effort or a communication effort that we should be doing with them.
Okay, other questions on this? No, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor McClinchy, second by Councillor Moyer. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jonathan. Report from the clerk entitled 2021 Accessibility Compliance Report.
Thank you to the mayor and members of council. A report has been prepared for you entitled the 2021 Accessibility Compliance Report. The recommendation before you is that council receive the report and that council endorses the draft report provided outlining the different sections as presented and direct staff to submit the report to the province. This compliance reporting is a 2-year compliance, and the last one again was done in 2019. The accessibility coordinator through the county does provide some guidance to the municipality on the requirements that need to be addressed within the particular compliance reports. I would just like to point out, part of what's in the report is we did talk about the assisted listening devices that were newly installed in the council chambers. And coincidentally, this evening, one of the members of the public did use the device, and I was able to ask him, how that responded for his needs, and he said it worked really well. So it just was a coincidence that happened tonight, but I thought it was timely with the compliance report that was one of the reporting goals that we did do. I'd be happy to try and address any specific questions that council has relating to the report, but it is a structured report, and certain perimeters that is part of that we don't have control over. It's just what is required within a certain compliance report year.
Questions from council on the report? No questions from council? All right, we do have a recommended motion in front of us to receive the report, and also that council endorses the 2021 accessibility compliance report as presented and direct staff to submit the report to the province. Somebody make that motion. Councillor Nickel, Councillor McClinchy, in favor? Carried. Thank you. Passing of accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report in front of you outlines the municipal expenses for the period of November 11th to the 25th for an amount of $899,794.92. Any questions?
Questions? Councillor Moyer.
Just on the Canadian security concept, is that the security officer we have at the arena?
So which,
It, through your worship, it is. Yeah.
Now, is there, do we have any opportunity to recover of that cost?
The intention was that it would be funded through the COVID relief fund, which we still have a balance. I think we're dwindling on that, but
Safe Restart program, we've pretty much utilized the entire amount. Yes, we have.
okay. So it's still an incurred cost that we need to do to protect our staff. I think some of it went through there at the beginning, but I'll have to confirm that.
I have to check the original expenses, but in regards to the majority of the utilization of that is to recover lost penalty revenue for property taxes and water bills.
Just a comment. I have been to the arena when they had the silver stick on, and the security guard is doing a tremendous job, and he's there like before 7, like it opens at 8, so he's there before that, maybe gets out there at 8 at night. So it's a long day. And if it's a weekend, he's there as well. So I think he's doing a good job.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Canelson.
Thank you. Again, my question is for Jonathan Lapman, actually. And just for the clarity, for the sake for the public who are watching this and gone through the accounts payable, for the McCann Ready Mix bedding sand, it's not for livestock, that's for our roads, is it not?
Through the mayor, the deputy mayor, that's correct.
Okay.
I think bedding sand is when it came through longer, but it's actually salt sand.
Yeah, then I figured that, I just thought it's clear. Thank you.
Other questions on the accounts? No other questions? We need a motion to pay our accounts. Councillor Moyer, Councillor Keel, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Estelle.
Thank you.
Committee reports. I won't go through them. Anybody has a committee they want to report on? In our reports? Councillor McClinchy?
Jackie, I had sent the Blue Water recycling minutes back in the week of the 20th. I see they're not on here. The Blue Water notes or whatever.
I do have them. They'll probably just be put on the next agenda. It just
Okay, I
depends
just
when
thought
they.
maybe
Yeah, no, I have them.
you didn't get them.
Nope, I got them.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on the committees?
I just like to make a comment on the local school advisory committee, Mayor Rapp, if I may, and that is that it was disappointing that the community consultation, that no one from that committee actually attended that process. And Mayor Ropp and I were there along with two parents who are, I don't believe, were part of that committee. But there was a lot of really good, valuable information that was presented. And it was a really interesting discussion. So it was unfortunate that they missed it. I don't know if you have anything you wish to add, Mayor.
Thank you. I would add to that, that, like you said, there was a lot of information. The one thing that was missed somehow was booking the hall. We actually, somewhere along the line, this was an event that we all knew about, but we didn't book it. So
Through your worship, it was booked. What was missing was the refinement of what was needed inside the hall. That was never directed to staff.
oh, okay, okay. And it wasn't a major, I mean, but those are things that, we gotta. Yeah, when we got.
The door was actually unlocked.
Yeah.
Staff had left it unlocked because we did the communication channel had broken, and we only can go so far without having a reciprocating partner say what they actually need. So the hall was open, the lights were off until they could walk in.
And we had our meeting, no problem. That wasn't an issue. I'm just saying that something broke down there a little bit, but yeah. Okay, anything else on the committees? No correspondence. Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, Conservation Authorities Act, Phase 1 regulations, receive and file. Any comment on that? None. Notice of public meeting for Luke and Bedell, receive and file. Other and urgent business. Councillor McClinchy, and then I'll come to you, Jonathan.
I just want to comment and thank everyone who participated in making the Park Hill Fair a success. Of all the years I've been in the parade, I don't think I've seen that many people here before. There was probably 5,000 plus.
Yeah.
And unbelievable. And it was snowing nicely, but it was, the floats were what I saw them, and I saw a lot of them. They were beautiful. I mean, it really shows that people want to get out. They had enough of COVID that they want to be out, and children, like little children. And it was wonderful. It was really great. And I'm sure both of you would agree with me that I was in the parade, but it was wonderful. Like, thank you. Hats off to whoever made this possible. Yeah,
hats off to the committee who
and
put
to
that
whoever,
together.
and the people that made did the
Yeah.
floats, participated, whatever. It's a big thank you for everybody.
Well said, well said. There was kids wall to wall on both sides of the street, the whole length of Main Street. It was amazing.
Gates up the
Yeah.
Town Street. They're
Yeah.
right there. Went, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great job.
And you just drove through the crowd.
Yeah, that's right. It was good. Yes. Jonathan.
Through your worship, I sent council an email briefing on Monday, I believe it was Tuesday, my apologies, about basically refining the fire hall EMS in consultation with K&L and Valley. And what has come back is essentially that in terms of the redesign and the scope change, and I think this might actually be a little bit what Councillor Gord Maury was getting at in terms of maintaining the roof line. So the presented savings of $70,000 originally can still be obtained. And the recommendation or to staff or to the organization is that the mezzanine be an open shell above the second floor. So no appurtenance or fixtures within, and that all the appurtenance related to the precast floor, stairs, stair enclosure, mezzanine office, and so on be eliminated. And those were those cost savings and what they were striving for. Really what this is subject to is scope change and schedule change that would leave us open for market conditions if we went back to a redesign. So I'm bringing this up as an information purposes to be transparent with you that we've kind of hit a critical decision point, and I would welcome any questions.
Comments, questions on it? Who's going?
I do have one, and my comment to you, Jonathan, is that, and I appreciate that the scope change and the impact it could have, the financial impact it could have. Is that then to say that KL has already ordered all the material, or Valley's already ordered all the material, and this was a locked-in price?
They have not ordered all the material, but the redesign in consideration of what would the engineering involve would be at least a month And that would subject to us not only to a schedule change for the entire project, because this is our largest span, but it would also leave us vulnerable to the market conditions that we would be open to a full scope change from K&L. And they would have a legitimate platform to do that if the price came back. It is variable. It could go down, but from what we've seen from other industries to date, I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon.
Okay,
Other questions? Count,
Not for that. I'm sorry, but I believe the last council meeting, I had mentioned about the Horticulture Society was not able to do the planters anymore due to the lack of volunteers. I just want to recognize the businesses and the residents of the community that came forward and they decorated the planters, and it looked very festive this year. So I was really pleased, and I thank those people as well. And there's a thank you note up in the post office, Foodland, wherever, just recognizing these people and thanking them.
okay, thank you. It does look good. Is there questions? Come back to Jonathan here. Is there other questions on that? No? Okay. All right. So no other business? No other business? All right. Deferred items you see in front of you, communications from the county council.
Thank you, Mayor Ropp. County Council we met there last week. It was a virtual meeting. And we had an interesting review of the transportation system, such as it is in the Thames Center area, I guess, in Woodstock and whatnot. And the report indicated that the ridership was not what they had anticipated. So they're increasing some routes to hopefully attract more riders. Other than that, I can't recall of anything of significance. Mayor Rob, perhaps you can?
Well, not that was affecting North Middlesex, I don't think. We would make comment that the Warden's Banquet was last Saturday in Lucan. It was a really good turnout. There was actually a lot of people there, and the inaugural meeting is tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon at 4:00, and it is going to be virtual. So if anybody wants to look in on it, actually the Medway Choir is going to be singing. They're going to be singing virtually, so everybody can hear them perform. So most of us, there's a couple of councils I think that did have to go on Zoom to the meeting, but the inaugural meeting is tomorrow at 4:00. Well, so it would be on YouTube. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Staff can coordinate to send out the link.
Send out a
account.
link.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it
Makes it
doesn't
easier.
require any registration. You can just view live.
And I know they are limiting the number of people that are going to the building, but yeah, so there are two people who are running for warden. One is Allison Warwick from Thames Center. The other is Brad Richards from Strasbourg, Carolina. So yeah, so I think that's it. If there's no questions for county, I would make a report to the Narren Bridge, talking with the county engineer, that they certainly are on schedule. You know, they're hoping to be a little earlier, but they are on schedule. It is McLean Taylor doing that work in there. So that is the 15th, I believe, that they plan on opening it. 15th of December, I believe, is the date that's on it. So, okay, reading of the bylaws.
The bylaws are listed on the agenda. We're looking for first and second reading for bylaw 99 to 101.
Moved by Councillor McClinchy, seconded by Councillor Keough. All in favor? Carried.
And third and final for bylaw 100 and 101.
Councillor Hemming, Councillor Moyer. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no closed meeting, so we are looking for a motion are you just asking for something? No, motion to adjourn. Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Keough, all in favor?